CounterSpy is a completely historically accurate game about the Cold War in which we're trying to blow up the moon, which happened. This is a realistic Cold War simulation of blowing up the moon.
You know, it's not a realistic depiction of the Cold War, but if you go to your Wikipedia, you will actually find out that in 1958, the U.S. Air Force did, in fact, actually develop a plan to blow up the moon with nuclear weapons.
Because we can do that, and so we're going to.
Well, in the end, they decided the better PR move was to put a man on there, and I think that all worked out well for us.
Gotcha.
But for us, you know, CounterSpy, it's kind of such a playful take on, a sort of satirical take on the Cold War, which I know sounds a bit weird, like, oh, the Cold War, so playful, but you know, it's kind of our mix of like classic James Bond mythology, but in our game, you know, the superpowers are the supervillains. They're the guys doing this crazy plan to nuke the moon, and so you as an agent for Counter have to stop them.
Gotcha. So we've got some live gameplay going on right now, where we can see how it's going. I love the look of this. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, we have a secret weapon. Our art director worked at Pixar for a number of years, worked on The Incredibles, so you can definitely see kind of a little bit of his influence throughout the game. In terms of sort of the game and the world we've created, we like to think of it like, you know, a dose of The Incredibles, a little bit of Bond mixed in with sort of a sprinkling of Dr. Strangelove on top.
Yeah, and it also feels, you know, just walking around in these environments, I get a feel of out of this world or another world. Just in terms of that art style a little bit, a little Saul Bass in there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that whole, so in terms of Saul Bass, like that whole era, mid-century, like beautiful graphic design, architecture, there's a lot of stuff there that's sort of like juicy inspiration for Mark, the art director. In terms of games, I mean, everyone on the team's probably got like different side-scrolling games that they loved, but we collectively all love that genre. Out of This World, Flashback, huge games for me. Probably like the first time I ever played a game where I was like, oh, games can be about something, and I might want to make these.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
I'm loving watching this here because you are playing with, even though you have this kind of classic 2D perspective when you're kind of solving puzzles and getting through your environments, you guys are playing with the camera and the perspective here to do things like takedowns and actual gunfights.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things, we wanted to bring something a little more modern to the genre, so you know, although it's a side-scroller, everything's built in full 3D, and so this felt like a really nice way to sort of open up the environments for the player. It's actually, if you're playing the game using stealth, using one of the silenced weapons, those cover combat areas are actually very useful too. You can pop into cover, use your, say, a silenced pistol, and then it's pretty fun just to try and surgically pick off guards as they're moving around, sort of unaware that you've just taken out one of their friends.
Well, it's kind of neat because, you know, we're clearly going through this this installation here. What's the end goal of the mission that we're watching?
So a couple of things. First of all, your overall end goal is collect all the launch plans, discover the location of one of the rocket sites for either side. So you'll be going into imperialist and socialist bases. Along the way, you've got this DEFCON level that you see in the middle. Right now it's at 5, which is pretty comfortable. But the more sort of chaos you cause throughout the levels, you'll see that start to go up. You want to try and keep that down and get to the end of the level before they launch.
Yeah, I noticed you're kind of crawling around trying to carefully take out cameras and stuff like that here. So obviously all that has an effect.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask is, as we're going through the installation here, you know, we are seeing these other enemy soldiers and agents walking around in the background, playing with the depth. And are those other areas that we're going to find? Are those places that we're eventually going to interact with? I guess this just answered my question when the perspective shifted.
Yeah, your interaction is basically, I'm going to shoot that guy that's back there, or I'm going to take him out. The game, you know, the game keeps you constrained along the kind of classic side-scrolling vertex.
But I love that because just a moment ago, this control room was clearly just a background plate as we were walking over
Right.
that one platform,
Yeah, yeah.
but now we're coming back.
Yeah, you got a nice little kind of preview of the guys that were going to be ahead of you. And there's a lot of little... So one thing that's interesting is the levels are all constructed using procedural elements. So levels get stitched together differently on each playthrough. Guards, things that you find in the world are different. So if you play through and you die, you start again. You're not going to be playing the same level on level
Oh, I
one.
love that. So the map itself stays the same, but we've got to take out maybe different cameras or different guards are posted in different...
Yeah, and actually the maps will change too. Like the layout, sort of room by room, we have this system that kind of stitches them together. Almost like imagine sort of shuffling a deck and then playing it again for the player.
Oh, that's very cool. This is actually... We're watching the PS4 version here, but you're also coming to PS3 and Vita as well, yes?
Yes, we're really close to finish now. PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and Vita. It's going to be coming out in the summer. The game's going to be a cross-buy, so whichever platform you buy, you own it for all. Also has cross-save, so you got to go hit the road. Hopefully you're not driving. Turn off your PlayStation 4, grab your Vita, and you can kind of carry on. Unless you get one of those Google self-drive cars, and then you'll...
Yeah, that's probably... I feel like that's probably safe. I feel like that's fine.
That's about where it's all going.
Well, awesome. David, thank you so much for coming by and showing it off.
Absolutely.
PlayStation